Well, we said round 16. Well, we said round 16 was going to be a pretty straightforward round, but it turned out to be anything but. Let's see what round 17 has in store. What is going on, guys? It is your boy Burgz back at it again for another week of tips and predictions here on The Casual Athlete. This week, it is round 17. And what a week round 16 was. I told you guys during the week, it looked very straightforward, and we ended up with a relative 4 out of 8 tips correct. I will go through those games in just a moment, guys. But before we get into that, just a reminder to like and subscribe to the channel. We bring out so much content each and every week, and we can't do it without your support. So hit that like button and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our latest content. And guys, let's get into a little bit of round review from last weekend. And we started off on Wednesday night with Origin. And I got to say, I had the Blues winning 13 plus in this game, and well, it was a topsy-turvy game. A lot of penalties, a lot of dropped ball, 28 errors made in the game. Didn't almost feel like an Origin game by the end of it. And I think one thing it only proved to me is that the Queensland team need the Blues to be bad and also need some help from the ref to even be competitive. Yes, you heard it here first, guys. We dominated that second half. They shot ourselves in the foot a little bit in that first half, but I've only got more confidence in the Blues after that game, and I do think that they will go on to win the series if it gets reffed fairly. Let's put a caveat on that. Moving on to the Raiders game, I thought they'd get a bigger win in this one. It was looking so for a while, 16-0, and the Tigers mounted a decent comeback. Probably should have ended up stealing the game in the end. They had enough chances, but just couldn't ice it, and the Raiders, they continue on their merry way. They are looking phenomenal this season. Warriors at home, losing to the Panthers. Who would have predicted that one? The Warriors have been fantastic at home this year. I didn't see the Panthers without their Origin stars winning this game at all. I think the Warriors, once again, shot themselves in the foot like a couple of other teams this week, and yeah, they just really couldn't stop the roll-on from Penrith. And Penrith, they have gone on a little bit of a run here, so keep one eye on them. The Dolphins, big disappointment for me. I really thought the Knights were excellent in this game, and I have not said that about the Knights at all this year. They were direct, they had a plan of attack, and they managed to score 26 points. And that is something that, against this Dolphins team, you're going to need to do, because in the last month or so, they have piled on the points, and the Knights got a very well-earned victory towards the end of the game. Big credit to the Knights. A couple of claps there for them. Moving on to the Storm game, I thought they made this so hard, the Storm. Like, they completely shut down after the 7th minute. Like, they were looking like putting on a cricket score, and then from their second try, where Jaron Hughes scored, they just kept making really horrible errors. They really didn't win the middle of the field battle, and honestly, towards the end of the game, I really thought the Rabbitohs were going to win that game, and I thought that they also deserved to win the game. They were the better team for large part of the second half, if only not for the brilliance of Suafa'ilongo. He did let in a couple of tries, but Suafa'ilongo come up with a great play to get the Storm back in front. But Latrell Mitchell had another trick up the sleeve as well, putting on a kick for Munro, and it went into Golden Point, where Ryan Pappenhausen kicked a field goal. Dicey one for the Storm, and they are not looking anything but convincing at this point in time. Sharkies, mate, this was looking so good, this tip. Going into the latter stages of that game, I think it might have been the 60th minute, maybe 55th minute, the Sharks were leading 28-12. Like, it just boggles belief to me for the Sharks. I don't know what their problem is. There's obviously a mentality weakness to be able to put up 28 points and still lose a game. It's got to hurt you, and it's happened to them a couple of times this year. Their defense has not been anywhere near up to scratch. Big credit to the Broncos, though. They got out of jail in that game, but conceding 28 points on a regular basis won't win you many games, so they think they need to look at the defensive side of the ball. Roosters hammered the Cowboys, and we'll move on from that one. I'll get into the Cowboys a little bit later. And the Titans. I went the Titans in this one, and they should have won this game. And the no Moses, no Brown, Dean Hawkins, and Joash Papali'i had to step up. Relatively inexperienced pair coming up against the Titans pair in Kieran Foran and Jaden Campbell, who have been brilliant in patches this year. Losing Jaden Campbell didn't help the Titans, and then once again they gave a lot of open spaces to Parramatta. Parramatta decided to sweep round them. They did a lot of early shifting the ball. I think that cost the Titans towards the end of this game. They looked gassed, they ran out of steam, and Parramatta just put it on at the end. And Zach Lomax, I think he is the best winger in the NRL at the moment, and I think you can't question that at this point in time. He is so good in the air. It is ridiculous. But guys, just the 4 out of 8 tips correct this week. Again, like I said, it looked a little straightforward and it was anything but. And I said that last week. Maybe we should go through a few speculators again this week. There's a lot of juicy tips on the horizon for round 17. So let's get into it. Game 1 of round 17, and we start off with an absolute corker at CommBank Stadium where the Panthers will be taking on the flying high Canterbury Bulldogs. Now, the Dogs haven't beaten the Panthers since 2019, and they haven't beaten them away from home since 2016. So a big test comes up now for this dog side, who have been riding somewhat high this year. I love what they've been doing. They had the week off as well, so they're going to be relatively well rested for this game, and then you flip to the other side of the ball, and this Penrith team, they managed to get a win with some of their depth guys. A lot of their origin stars, they were all out for the game against the Warriors, and they pulled through over in Auckland, which hasn't been an easy thing to do this year. So this sets up a mouth-watering fixture in my eyes. Will the Canterbury Bulldogs be the ones to crack this little streak that the Panthers have been going on, or can the Panthers overcome a big test for them? They need to keep winning games. They need to stay in touch with the top 8. And I think that the Panthers can do it. I really do love what the Panthers have been doing, especially the last month, resting guys when they probably shouldn't have. I thought it was a risky move, but shame on my face. Pull full egg on my face from Ivan Cleary. He's pulled out another rabbit of the hat. He keeps doing it year in, year out. And I think this Penrith team do it again this weekend. I just have a feeling that this Penrith side, they're building something a little bit here, and it will be interesting to see if the Dogs can stop it. I do think it'll be a close game, though. Let's go the Panthers, 1-12. Second game of round 17 takes us to Four Pines Park, where we've got the Manly Seagulls taking on the West Tigers. Now, the Tigers, I thought they were much improved last week. They really managed to match it with one of the most powerhouse forward packs in the competition and went toe-to-toe and almost came away with a stunning victory. And again, they go into this round as the underdogs. And I do see the reason as to why. Manly, in the last 5 games against the Tigers at Brookvale, have put on 32 plus points in each of those fixtures. And the Tigers have won none of them. So the last win, though, between these two teams was the Tigers last year at Leichhardt. So you'd want to say that this Tigers team, especially with Manly being as poor as they have been this season, and we're going to see Tom Trbojevic moving into the centres, which I don't love that move, to tell you the truth. I think they have pretty set centres at the moment in Ruben Garrick and Tolu Kola. Moving Lehigh Hopewadi to the back, he has been a spark plug while he has been in that position, but it's so far off their formula, and I think that it could really derail Manly even further. Just having Tom Trbojevic in there, like if he's not going to play his normal position, then why not just wait until he gets fit? You know, like he doesn't look fit at this point in time. He hasn't looked fit for a while. Let's be honest. Like the last couple of years hasn't looked fit. I think the Tigers have been building towards a win the last couple of weeks. Don't know why they're such big outsiders in this game, but I'd be hanging on my hat. And we're going to go 2 upsets in a row to start the round. That's right. I'm going to back the Tigers to get a win here at Four Pines Park. Really think they've been kind of chugging along and they're due for a victory. They need to earn one. They've been so close the last couple of weeks as well. So I think it could be a bit of a blowout, but I'll still go the Tigers 1-12. The next game for round 17, we're up at the Hunter Valley, where the Newcastle Knights will be taking on the Canberra Raiders. Now, there's only so many superlatives that you can come up with for this Raiders side. They're getting tough wins. They're getting comeback wins. They are doing it on all levels at this point in time. They can punch you through the middle. They can go on the outside. Their centers, wingers combinations are really good, and they've got a fullback that is one of the most elusive fullbacks in the comp. Their halves really gelling. I mean, it's a pretty perfect side at this point in time for the Raiders. And for the Knights side of the ball, great win last week. I really loved what I saw from the Knights. I'm known as a Knights hater, guys. So if I actually don't have anything nice to say about the Knights, I generally don't say it, to tell you the truth. But I did really love the way that they played against the Dolphins last week. The Dolphins, they recognized that they don't have the most robust, big forward pack. They went down the middle and they used that left edge, giving Bradman Best some early ball and letting him go to work. And didn't he have an outstanding game? And the Dolphins just seem to not be able to get a win against the Knights. It's really tough for them. Going into this game, though, they do have some hope. They've won 4 out of their last 5 games against the Raiders. And this Raiders side, they were patchy last week. I thought they started really well, which hasn't been the story for them at all this year. But then they climbed into the game a little bit more and a few dodgy errors here and there really could have gone against them against a Tigers team that was hungry for a victory. So if the Knights turn up and show the kind of fight that they showed last week, I really think they can snag this from the Raiders. Do I think that they will? No, I just think the Raiders are too good of a side right now for the Knights, and losing Fletcher Sharp for, I think, about a month period is really going to hurt them in terms of attacking spark. So unfortunately, Knights fans, got to go with the Raiders here, 1-12. Whoo, cue the Super Saturday noise as we have some cracking 50-50 games coming up on Super Saturday. The first one starts up at Suncorp, where we have the Broncos taking on the Warriors. And as you could probably say for the Warriors last week, it was not up to their usual standard at all, or what we have come to expect from them in season 2025. And you could probably say for the Broncos on the other side of the field, for the first 50 minutes of the game, it was pretty lackluster. They didn't have anything going and they sparked. They went straight to what has made them, a very potent attacking team, and they ran away with the game in the end. And the Sharks had no answers for them. I just want to see that from minute one. They have done it a couple of times this year, mainly round one, and then a couple of weeks ago against the Titans, they were really on the ball. I think the black jerseys had a little bit to do with it, plenty of emotion in that game. But they come into this game against the Warriors, who are one of the best completion rate teams in the NRL, and although they don't have the best middle forward rotation, especially losing Barnett, that is the advantage for the Broncos. Payne Haas was outstanding once again last week. He really gets them a roll on moving forward and allows guys like Reece Walsh, who's playing through injury at this point in time, to really use his flair and flash to come up with some great attacking plays. And he did it again on the weekend. It's easily the 2 best games of the season that Walsh has played, these last 2 games coming back from injury. And I worry about it in the sense of playing the Warriors because they are a fundamentals team. They don't drop the ball a lot. They make you beat them. And I don't know if the Broncos are going to get many freebies in this game. I think the Warriors could get out to a very hot start here, and the Broncos could end up running them down or falling just short, which has been kind of the cycle or story of a lot of Warriors games this year, where they've kind of just hung on to the victory at the end of the game. But it's what's made them such a threat in this year's competition. Let's go the Warriors, 1-12. Second game of Super Saturday is down in Wollongong, where we have the Dragons taking on the Eels. And to me, this is yet another big 50-50 clash. The Eels last week really impressed me. I didn't give them a chance in hell without Moses or Brown, even though Brown hasn't been necessarily that effective this year. That forward pack has really stuck well together. Paulo has upped his level. Jack Williams is finding a home in the middle there. Kautonga is outstanding. There's some guys for Parramatta that are really stepping up in recent weeks. And that is so good to see from a club point of view. You want players to buy in. It looked like they weren't doing it to start this season, and they actually did get their first win of the season against the St. George Illawarra Dragons way back in, I think it was round 5 or whatnot, with Lomax kicking a field goal. Will that happen again this week? I don't know. I love the Dragons down in Wollongong. They haven't had a win for a while. They tend to crack out a win when you least expect it. I'm always very, very iffy about tipping the Dragons, as you guys know. I just think that they get a win this week, and I can't really get my head around why. And I don't think I'll ever get my head around why I ever think that the Dragons are going to win a game. So if you don't want to blindly back them with me, I really have no answers in terms of how they're going to beat the Eels this week, other than the fact that I just think that they're due for a win. Like, that's it. They're down on their home turf in Wollongong. They generally like playing down there. But at this moment, it's a little bit of a dice roll. We're at the roulette table and we're trying to take, we're trying to put all our money on 30. Picking one number at this point in time in terms of the Dragons getting a victory when I tip them. They often get a victory when I tip against them, and I don't need that in my life. But let's go the Dragons, 1 to 12. The last game of Super Saturday is the Dolphins taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs as Wayne Bennett will return to Suncorp to take on his former side, who had a little bit of a glitch in the road last week. They've been piling on the points week to week leading up to the game against the Knights. Isaiah Katoa has been outstanding, and they hit a bit of a hurdle. They weren't necessarily prepared for the style of play that the Knights were going to do. They clearly exploited a big weakness as Jack Bostock got injured earlier in the game, and then Bradman Best was able to feast on that right-hand side of the field where Averillo would normally be, but he did get moved to the left-hand side of the field to play wing. So it was a little bit of a shift for the Dolphins, and they stuck in the game there, but towards the end of the game, I really felt like they were gassed. They didn't really have the momentum, and you can't really say that for this Rabbitohs team who fight right until the final whistle. We saw it again on the weekend. They pushed the Melbourne Storm into golden points, something that I was not expecting in the slightest. Latrell, he just comes up with some great plays, man. I love this bloke. I just wish they'd give him more ball in Origin, like early ball is got to be the plan in Origin for Latrell. That's for a different video. In terms of this game, I don't know why Souths are such big outsiders here. The Dolphins been a little bit iffy the last couple of weeks. I don't love it. I don't love why the Rabbitohs are such big outsiders. So I'm going to back them this week. I think that their advantage is the middle. Keelan Kalamatangi has been great. Jai Arrow is competing on every play. Come up with a great try saver last week. Outstanding from him. And I just don't know if the Dolphins, with the personnel they have in there right now, are going to be able to contain this South Sydney attack in terms of, that left-hand side of the field is lethal for the Rabbitohs, and they will have to fix that up again because they scored a few tries the Knights down that left-hand side. So let's go the Rabbitohs here, 1 to 12. We start down in Melbourne on Sunday where the Storm will be taking on the Sharks. And the question is, for us tippers, is do we back the Sharks to beat the Storm twice in the same season? Now, the Storm have been struggling in night games of late. They don't like it when it's a little bit slippery, a little bit of dew on the grass. They have made quite a lot of handling errors when it has been a night game or when there has been a little bit of moisture out there on the ball. Now, I don't know why that is the case. They seem to play in that weather quite a lot. It's been a very different switch from what we're used to seeing from the Storm. They seem to dominate afternoon or day games, and this is a 2 p.m. Sunday game down in Melbourne. I really don't give the Sharks much of a hope here. Their big advantage is going to be their middles. Adam Fanua-Blake has to step up. Toby Rudolph, I've got to say, he was running hard last week, and Blake Brayley's been outstanding for them this year, but I just find that Nico Hines and Braden Trindle never want to take the game on when they need to. Like, when they absolutely need to come up with a play, they always end up making the wrong decision. And I think that Hines, especially, he had a great first 60 minutes of the game. I think the last 20 minutes of the game when they really needed, someone to step up in the playmaking role, he just went missing again. And I just don't know if that's going to be something that continues for him mentally. Then I really think he's going to struggle as a half in this league. I think I'm coming down a little too hard on Nico Hines, but the Storm were shaky last week, and no doubt they'll know that. But this is an afternoon game, and it is a bit of a Storm specialty of late. So let's go the Storm, 13 plus. Last game of the round now, and we are up at Seabus Super Stadium for the Titans taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. Now, my Cowboys last week, there's a few thoughts that I have, and one at the moment is that we are looking to sign a couple of players at the moment. That's great. Are they the players we need? It's a bit iffy to tell for me. Selwyn Cobbo is one guy that we are looking at. Maybe you could say that he's an improvement on Robert Derby, but for the amount that he's looking to get, I wouldn't be paying anything over 550k, 600k for a guy like Selwyn Cobbo. He seems to go missing in a few games, also can be a bit lazy at times. And then the other guy who I'm really excited about us signing is Taylor Silva. I really think that we should go hard at getting another hooker for next year because we've seen what the replacements are like at the present time. Harrison Edwards and Carl Lawton. I love Carl Lawton, but this year he's been a little bit ill-disciplined, making a few mistakes. I just thought he was going to be a bit better of a depth piece than he's ended up being. And nothing will ever get away from the fact that I didn't have much faith in the Cowboys this year. I think, guys, if you watch my ladder predictions video, I had them 13th. And a lot of people keep giving me stick every week for the Cowboys. Like, I know we're not a good team. We lack, depth in the middles. Like, our middles, some of them are talented, but just not talented enough to be able to bend the line back and give our playmakers some time on the ball and create space. And that's what we are. We're a team that needs to create space in order to thrive. Guys like Jackson Purdue drink water and need room between them and the defensive line in order to be able to work. And we don't have guys like that in the team. Cotter is a mongrel, don't get me wrong. But he's not the guy who's going to make a charging run and attract 4 or 5 defenders. And Jason Taumalolo, does he come back in this week? I don't know. I do think the Titans have an advantage this week. Their forward pack is a bit better than ours, and especially if they get David Fifita back. Again, playing with fire, saying that David Fifita might be coming back. But if they get David Fifita back this week, I do think that they can really make some damage against us in the middle, and we leak points almost as bad as any team in the comp. So I'm really inclined to tip the Titans here, but I will back my boys to have a bounce back. We need a response. And I think the Cowboys, especially after all the Origin noise and everything like that, they probably were able to relax a little bit, having one Origin, at least those Origin players. But I think the Cowboys can sneak a victory here. But I'm so nervous, I might poop myself. Let's go the Cowboys, 1-12. So, guys, that's it for the video this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your tips and predictions for round 17 down in the comment section below. I love going through it each and every week. Please make sure that you hit that like button and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new content from the Casual Athlete. And I'll catch you on the next one.